How Mitakiapi, Kinjong, Imakiapido, Waipea Lake, Edwati.
How Mitakiapi Ashun warrior Imakiapido, Bide Ota Otunwe, Edwati.
How Mitakiapi Kif Ingol Imakiapido, De Ota Otunwe Edwati.
Minnesota is a land filled with many rich history and culture. One of these cultures is the Dakota. Before white settlers, the land was inhabited by them in the western and southern areas of Minnesota, while the Ojibwe inhabited the northern and eastern part. The current name of Minnesota derived from the Dakota word Minnesota Makoche, which translates to the land where the water reflects the clouds. Many indigenous languages have beautiful descriptive names, such as the Dakota word Pote, which translates to where the two waters come together. Protecting these indigenous languages is crucial as they ensure the continuation and transmission of custom, culture, and history. Names are one of the most important aspects for any kind of language, as without it, people wouldn't understand the meaning and identification of the subject. Name restoration is where certain important places that are significant to the native are reverted back to their original name. This results in acknowledging the culture, language, and people who contributed or had a huge significance in that place.
One prominent example of successful name restoration is Bide Makaska. Bide Makaska, formerly known as Lake Calhoun, is the largest lake in Minneapolis. It is visited by hundreds of thousands of people every year. Dr. Kate Bean, an Indigenous woman with credentials in Native American studies, started a campaign to restore the name of Bide Makaska from Lake Calhoun. The Dakota people originally named the lake Bide Makaska, meaning White Earth Lake, to represent the sandy white beaches that surround the lake. However, the name was changed to Lake Calhoun in honor of the racist Senator John C. Calhoun, who was responsible for drafting the Indian Removal Act of 1830.
Our history during this era was always told in hushed tones. It wasn't spoken about, and so thus this history and our language wasn't passed down. My grandparents were raised in boarding schools where they were taught that our language was bad, where they were taught that being Dakota was bad.
Erasing the culture and language associated with the land in which Native culture was enriched, in addition to genocide and colonization, developed what Dr. Bean calls historical trauma, where future generations feel shame and feel like they are missing a part of themselves and their culture. Dr. Bean, along with her twin sister, father, and other friends, worked hard to gather support and gain the notice of the DNR and city officials to restore the name. This was met, of course, by a lot of backlash from members of the community, but it had no real criticism.
When the park board said that Bide Makaska was too hard to say, Michungshi, my daughter, who was 3 years old at the time, testified at a hearing and taught the entire room how to say Bide Makaska.
Finally, after all the backlash and challenges, on May 3rd, 2017, the Department of Natural Resources voted in favor of restoring the name from Lake Calhoun to Bide Makaska officially.
Kate Bean's victory provides an example for future generations and helps to acknowledge the value and history of Indigenous people. It also draws attention to the history behind why Bide Makaska was changed to Lake Calhoun by colonizers and helps aid the removal of racist rhetoric and exclusionary practices in the state of Minnesota. Her unique experience of including her young daughter in the name restoration process showed her daughter and other young people that it is possible to create change. She helped her daughter and other young Indigenous people feel honored and welcome in their homeland and made them realize that their voices matter too. She helped many to understand that if there isn't an existing process, it is possible to make one. Bean's journey also influenced a movement in Bismarck, North Dakota, started by Indigenous people to push for the name restoration of what is currently known as Custer Park. Her victory has created a ripple effect and inspired other Indigenous people to push for change in their homelands. It is also important to note how Bean used the colonizer system in the process of Bade Makaska's name restoration. She utilized Western academia and county and state processes to restore the name and have it become recognized statewide and federally.